Hey folks, Gway. So a friend of mine sent me a link to an article. And in this article, it talks about 3 American politicians speaking at a conference for the American Renewal Project. Now, in and of itself, this is not a big deal. The American Renewal Project, though, is a group that seeks to put Republican candidates in touch with, in close proximity to, right-wing Christian voters, as a way of helping them garner support, as a way of helping them raise money, as a way of helping them get some press and make a name for themselves, and ultimately to win some votes. Again, in and of itself, this is not a big deal. The big deal with this article, especially from my friend's perspective, was that this group, the American Renewal Project, whereas most people accept the idea of the division of church and state, the separation of church and state, these folks reject it out of hand. They know we're not into the separation of church and state. The American Renewal Project believes that the church is being persecuted, that the church is in a culture war, and that in order to win that culture war, they need Christians, pastors, to seek public office, so that while in public office, they can write laws and legislation that protect the church. They don't want the church to be separated from government. They want the church to get deeply involved in government so that government can write bills, laws, legislation for the church, for the church's benefit. Now, throughout history, theocracy usually is a screaming disaster. Theocracy is usually a screaming disaster. Millions and millions and millions suffer when a theocracy comes into play. We could argue that point. We could go through the history of that point. But I thought, let's cut right to the chase and let's talk about, did Jesus want a kingdom here on earth? The answer to that is a resounding no. In the Gospel of John, when Pilate is questioning Jesus, Pilate gets a little frustrated and he says, your own countrymen want you dead. What do you have to say about this? And Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my supporters would be fighting for me right now. But as it is, my kingdom is not of this world. Now, it might be simple to say, well, yes, but he's standing in front of Pilate. He's under arrest. He's in chains. There's guards standing all around. But if he had the opportunity, he would have taken power. In the Gospel of John, chapter 6, after performing the miracle of feeding all those folks with bread and fish, Jesus understands, he recognizes that the people are about to come and take him by force and make him their king. And he runs. He gets out of there. He leaves them. He goes off on his own. He wants no part of an earthly kingdom. That is not what Jesus is about. Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. As followers of Jesus, as Christians, our kingdom is not of this world. Our job in this world to rule over ourselves, our job in this world to give to others, to offer ourselves to others, to provide for others, to support others, to love others, to equip others, to protect others. Not to rule them. Now, it's fine for a Christian to go into politics. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fine for a Christian to seek public office. It's fine for a Christian to want to be a leader within their community. There is nothing wrong with that at all. But when they do so, it must always be to look after the other, regardless of who the other is. It must always be for the purpose of taking care of their neighbor, regardless of who their neighbor is. It must never be to advance the agenda of the church. This is not Jesus' way. It was never Jesus' way. If it had been Jesus' way, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John would be filled with Jesus walking through the halls of power instead of walking through poor villages, taking care of sick, taking care of dying, taking care of the ostracized. But as it is, Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that we will spend our energy trying to rule over ourselves, that we will spend our energy trying to help and provide for others, that we will spend our energy loving our neighbors as we would love ourselves, that we wouldn't try to seek out earthly power. We would try to seek out our place in that heavenly kingdom instead. Amen. Nemultus.